So why does diversity in science matter?
Diversity matters not only in science, it matters everywhere, right? We want to make sure that we are represented in everywhere, in all the fields. It's special in the sciences and the STEM because we're not really represented. Like, I have not met a Latina professor since I've been here. I don't know how many black male scientists you know.
Not many.
We're kind of really rare, right? And so we want to make sure that we can bring our different perspectives and our points of view and be able to make grounds and open the doors for those that come behind us. So,
What kind of obstacles do you guys face? Like the barriers of being a small portion of the people in your classes?
Barriers. I don't well see them as barriers. I do have to accept that sometimes I would feel like the dumbest kid of the class, sitting in a corner, but I think that is more a self-perspective. It's a self-perspective, is something that we put in ourselves, but we're not any different than they are, okay? So I think that it's not an actual barrier, it's images and things that we put in our head that makes us believe that we are one thing or the other. So it's more about attitude.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. Like for me, I didn't. When you're like, we go to Harvard, so we're in this classroom. A lot of these people, come from pretty affluent backgrounds. They've been trained since birth to come to somewhere like Harvard. And me, I was just happy to graduate high school. So, like Carolina would say, there's sort of like sometimes they call it an imposter syndrome. So to answer your question, I just have to realize, I've come from a difficult place and I've been able to accomplish this much. So it's kind of like the stories you tell yourself, like one thing I always tell myself is like, they have a brain, I have a brain, they got 2 arms, I got 2 arms, 2 legs, I could do it too. So yeah, but believe me, like when you talk about barriers, I think about that a lot, because, you go into a classroom and nobody looks like you. And the professor's teaching, nobody looks like you. Then you say, am I supposed to be here? I say, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. So, great question.
It takes a long time, but it's actually something that we have to embrace as time goes by. And so it took me to kind of achieve certain goals to look back and say, I'm here because I deserve this, right? And not because I'm a minority and I was just able to be chosen through a program, but because I've earned it. And I think that is one of the most difficult things to go through grad school.
So you mentioned you came from a difficult background. If you guys would both kind of elaborate where you guys came from, where was the seed?
Want to start?
Well, I'll make it short, Though, like growing up, nobody. I'll start off with the stories that were told to me first off, and then I could go. Like nobody told me I was intelligent, and that's very important, especially when you're young. People tell you you could do this. I was rarely, except my mom, bless her heart, but I failed class, blah blah blah. I wasn't a great student, but my background was I was very poor. I mean, I'm the first to go to college in my family. I was raised by a single mother, 2 brothers, 3. Yeah, I'm the baby, and
big baby.
Yeah,
I'm the baby too.
Yeah, I was the baby. I was homeless growing up for a few months. I lived in a shelter. I didn't have access to great quality education. My environment wasn't the most positive. I don't have to get into details, but it wasn't uplifting for people to advance, And like I said, the stories you're told, you're never encouraged, you're never told you're smart. You're always worried about, how are we going to eat? A lot of times my lights were cut off and stuff, and then you don't understand why, You see other kids with things. And so just to make a long story short, it was a difficult environment. It wasn't the worst, it wasn't the best, but, if you, what am I trying to say? It was hard, but with the right people around me and just I was very fortunate. That's what I'm trying to say, to get the opportunities I had. So
and to make the best out of them, because one thing is to have the opportunities, and another one is to actually take advantage of them to the maximum.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
So I'll pick up on that. I was born and raised in Colombia, middle to low working class family. And I realized that I wanted to do science since I was very little. I was probably 11 or 12 years old, reading the newspaper and reading about how they're going to sequence the human genome. And I got super excited because I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to learn where life comes from and how is it that things are made, what are the instructions of life, right? And so I started really young with a specialization in science and math through high school. I wasn't as fortunate to be part of an amazing program like this, but I was part of a really good program that made sure that I had a little bit more of science and math than most of my classmates. But this high school was actually in a really poor neighborhood. And so the environment was pretty rough. I have friends that never made it out of high school. And so I realized by looking at a mirror of people around me that I was going to achieve my dreams, and that was going to take a lot of hard work. And I was going to pursue a higher education regardless of whatever I had to do. And so I was fortunate enough that my parents were able to send me to the States to study English right after high school graduation. And I started English as a second language, moved through many states, many colleges, just because I had to pay for my own school. So I had to work pretty much full time so I could pay for my own classes and pay rent and pay for my food. And so it wasn't easy, but it was worth it because at the end I know that whatever grades I got were the result of my hard work and that no one had put me there, but that I was going to make it regardless. So I moved to Miami, to California, back to Miami. I hit kind of a ceiling when I realized that the environment wasn't proper for me because I couldn't take science classes because most of science classes are in the afternoon. So if you have a full-time job, it's really hard to become a scientist. So something had to give. And so I decided to leave everything behind, pack my bags, and move to New York all by myself with 2 bags full of dreams. I had never been to New York. I had no family, no friends in New York. But I realized that it was the best time of my life. I was young and I had a dream, and if I couldn't make it in New York, I would make it anywhere, and if I didn't, I would come back home, right? Like, what did I have to lose by an amazing experience? So I worked really hard for the first year. I had 2 to 3 jobs just so I could pay rent and feed myself. And I started looking for schools, and so I came to New York with the dream of going to a private school, a private college, because I thought that if I had the name of a really big university, then it would make things better, especially because I had worked for a college counselor while I was in Miami, so I was helping young, rich kids to get into the best schools of the country. I was like, wait, why am I not in the best school of the country? I'm going to get myself into the best school of the country because I know how to do that. I can get these kids inside. But then when I realized how much tuition was and how many kids I could feed with my tuition money in other parts of the world, I decided to go to a public school and get a scholarship. And so I was able to find myself a really good scholarship that I recommend to everyone that's going to college. They are in a lot of the public universities. There are incentives from the from the NIH called the MBRS and MARC programs. And what they do is they select the best of the best in the STEM fields, and they train them for 2 to 3 years to teach you how to go to graduate school, which was exactly what I wanted to do. And so I got there and I got myself accepted. And then I had a full ride to finish my undergraduate in New York. It took me 11 years to finish undergrad. Yes. So it was like I did one career, I stopped, and then I started another one. It was just because I transferred from so many places, and I always had to work, so it was part-time. There were some years where I couldn't. But the end of the story is that it doesn't matter what it takes. if you really want to do something and if you really want to achieve something, you can do it, right? It's just going to be a matter of sacrifice and discipline and persistence. How much are you willing to do to achieve what you want? And so I took that program and I embraced it, and I'm here. I made it to the best school of the country, a school with a lot of prestige, and I'm really happy and grateful for all the people that gave me opportunities to be here. The professor that accepted me here for a summer internship, who became then my mentor. If it would have not been for her, I probably wouldn't be here. So it's very important to look out for mentors and people in the way that can teach you and help you achieve your dreams. And so that is the story.
So you mentioned mentors.
Yes.
Do you guys have any mentors throughout like the high school process, and like anyone you aspired and looked up to throughout high school?
When I was in high school, I didn't have I think I did once. My chemistry professor. I wanted to be a chemist. My first chemistry professor was, of course, an old white male. We got into a little argument in the middle of the class, and he promised me I would never pass chemistry, and I didn't. He was right. He'd never pass me, not because I didn't know, but because he just got so mad at me that he didn't want to let me pass. But then the following year, a new professor came on, and he was young, and he took me under his wings and showed me a lot of the things that chemistry was capable of doing, and how much beautiful, like, knowledge you can get from understanding chemistry, because chemistry is in everything in life. And so I think that he was a very inspiring person in my life, at least during high school. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't do anything, or let circumstances like that, like instead of me getting upset at chemistry and saying I'll never do that again just because I had a bad professor, on the contrary, I took the opposite approach. I liked it even more, and then when I finally had a mentor who actually cared about it, I realized how much I liked it. So
Yeah. So I didn't have any mentors in high school because I'll be honest, I was a terrible high school student. Just get good grades. You're already getting good grades. I'll just be honest. I was a terrible high school student. But one mentor I did have, I'm gonna be a little cheesy, was my mother, because, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter the name, but it's like Caroline was saying, it's about persistence, and I seen how persistent she was in everything she did to take care of us growing up. So I knew if I had the right attitude, the right drive and motivation, you could accomplish anything. So I would have to say it was my mother, because she always kept me in line to the best of her ability. So I was a bit of a knucklehead, but I would say it was her because she was patient with me. She saw my potential, and you have to be careful who you choose to be your mentor. Because these people, you look up to them, but what they say can propel you or ruin you. So always just be mindful. You guys are already very intelligent, very bright. Have incredible futures. And so, yeah, I would just say, when people tell you, listen to them, but then also have your own thoughts. Don't let anybody talk you down, say what you can't or cannot do. Be your own cheerleader. So that's what I would say. A lot of times, just be your own cheerleader, because there's a lot of negativity, especially when you're doing well. When you're doing well, a lot of times people don't like that. So don't let people talk down to you. Don't let people tell you what you can do, what your abilities, what you're capable of. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, like my mom was my mentor. Yeah.
So you mentioned a professor. Was that Professor Victoria from
Yes.
that you worked under internship? So I read a little bit about her, and I know she came from India, and you came from Colombia. So do you feel like you both, the migrating history, like affected your relationship with her versus if she was Caucasian?
very much so. I think that she was one of the people that actually looked like me when I was looking, at the entire profile of professors. And I think that the fact that we come from very humble backgrounds, but we made it through so we could actually do research in the States, it actually made a huge difference. And especially in certain departments and universities like Harvard, you see that the faculty has a tendency to have more of certain gender and race within. And so it was really nice to see that I could at least know that she was a female, that she understood where I was coming from. So yeah.
So you guys mentioned a lot about motivation and drive. So now that you guys are in your respective fields, what kind of keeps you going? What's your motivation?
That's a good question. I want it to be cheesy again, but you know, my mom put in a lot of work. So I want to make first off, I'm doing this for myself, but I want to make my family proud, my mother proud. Like, you know, I want to be an example to my community. You know, that you could be a knucklehead, but the game's never over until you say it's over. But that motivates me. I'm not gonna lie either. The degree motivates me because once I have this credential, a lot of doors will be open to me where I can make a positive impact. Whereas if I didn't study, if I didn't accomplish what I've accomplished, or if I didn't graduate, then a lot of doors would be closed to me. So that motivates me, and I do really enjoy science. But for me, I've always I wasn't interested in science early on. By high school, we had terrible classrooms, but I got interested in science because I felt like there's a lot of power in science, not only just for knowledge, just for self, but how you could educate people, how you could influence even policy. You know, you don't just have to be in the laboratory. There's so many different things you could do. So that was one of the main aspects of science that attracted me. So, yeah, those things, the potential, what I could do, how I could be impact, how I could be of service to other people really motivates me on a daily basis, really, because, you know, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than just a Harvard degree. It's about how, you know, you can use your talents and gifts to help others, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's sort of what my motivation is.
I have to stick with that answer too, because that is exactly what drives me, is being able to become a mentor and become a role model and open the doors for those that come behind us, because it's really important that we increase the diversity in the sciences. And so I love research. I love being able to discover something new. I think that is one of the most exciting things when you work for years and everything fails, and all of a sudden you get that one result that makes it. So it's that 1% success after 99% failure that makes you go on for a lot longer. So that's a really exciting feeling to have. But without that motivation of causing social impact with it, it dies off. Because I don't want to do science to publish papers. Right. I want to do science so I can cause social impact. So I can use teaching molecular biology and teaching biochemistry and teaching a little bit of medicine to actually help a community that it's being affected by a disease, right? Or being able to contact people to work in sustainable development to help a specific place. I think that science is a lot bigger than just a research lab. Everything involves science, and being able to use that to actually make a difference in humanity, that is what should drive a scientist.
Yeah, you should really love it because, you know, you can make money doing a lot of different things. Your motivation should be, but you can make a good living being a scientist, but there's so many things you can have your own startup, you can make your own company. But it's like, it shouldn't be money. It should be, like Caroline said, something that drives you, you're just passionate about for the sake of loving it. So, yeah, the opportunities are limitless. You just have to take advantage of them. Like you guys are pretty much doing now, so.
Take advantage of all of it.
Take advantage, yeah.
So do you guys face any discrimination or did face any discrimination in your fields?
But it's a really hard question.
In my field? Well, okay, let me...
I don't know. I don't think I have... discrimination is a really strong word. I have to say, I think that there are certain microaggressions that are not as obvious that we all encounter in a daily basis, right? And especially in certain environments. I have felt it in Boston, yes. I can't deny it. Not necessarily here at the university, but I felt it going out with my parents to a really fancy restaurant, and because I didn't look like them and I wasn't dressed up, even though I had money to pay, I felt like I was treated differently. And so I think that that is something that we are faced with in a day-to-day basis wherever we go. Science, in one hand, is particular about it is just because there's a specific demographics, right? And so you know that there's not that many of you. So I don't know. I haven't really been too much involved in politics and bureaucracy within the field to actually say that, but that's my experience so far.
I'm from California, by the way, from the Bay Area, and I went to UC Berkeley. That's another story. But anyway, when I was on campus, I went to the career center, right? Get advice about careers, what you want to do, all that. And they would not talk to me because they always ask me, "Where's your coach?" You know, I'm a tall guy, you know. "Where's your coach?" I was like, I'm a student. This happened. I can see the first time, but like, you know, it gets repetitive. And then, like I was saying, these stories you tell yourself, you start getting the sentiment, oh, dang, people don't think I'm smart enough to be here. So, like, always ask about where my coach, what that sport, like, I'll give you past the first time, but, you know, when I have to keep repeating myself, it gets annoying. When I've been at Harvard, I'm not going to lie, people have said some, like, funny things, you know, some very ignorant things. I've said this time and time and again. It's like, I'm not bashing education at all, but some of the most ignorant people I've met have been on campus. They say things that are just like, what? You know, but you can't let these things affect you. You know, it's attitude is everything. And as a matter of fact, I use it as my motivation. Like, okay, they might make a remark about, you know, a certain race or the way certain people talk, but it's your choice to what you're going to do with that. You know, you could be the change they see. You could be that perspective that they never had before, because a lot of times it's not because they're bad people. A lot of people here, they just haven't seen, they're just not used to seeing people like us in their environment, so they'll say some silly things. But sometimes you need to walk away, and then other times, you know, you can educate people. But the best way to educate people is how you shine, how good you do, how you guys are in this program. Interviewing people, you know, already. So it's just like, it's just how you take things and spin it around, because attitude is everything.
Yes,
So,
very much so.
yeah, it's going to be everywhere you go, you know. Even higher ups, even business CEOs, they experience discrimination. People don't respect it. You're not supposed to be here. Like, why are you, you know, people get jealous too. So, you know, it's a part of it. But as the more successful you guys become, you know, it's probably not going to, it's not going to phase you at all.
So I think we can all agree that the demographics of the people involved in science are pretty consistent. So how do you feel like if it were switched and instead those, like, demographics of the people in science changed and it was more of the minorities, how do you think science would look like? What would science look
Very
like?
colorful. That's exactly how it would look. I think the good thing about diversity is that you bring perspectives from different people from all over the world, right? And then you start looking at problems in a different way. Not that the way we look at problems now, it's bad, because it's really not. I think it's just bringing a different perspective. I think that one of the things that I find the most here is at least the usage of resources. I think that when you grow up in a third world country, you're more conscious about the things that you use, and I think that that is something that that I think it could be brought up to the table. I think that being really conscious about resources and spreading them evenly so everyone can benefit from it. But that's all I got. I don't know. that it's very utopic.
Yeah, it is. That's a good question. I just feel like, along with Caroline was saying, that science would advance so much because there's so many different types of people who just never get a chance. Like, I know so many people just growing up who just were so intelligent, so much smarter than you, but they just didn't have opportunities. It just didn't have, it just didn't work out. So I feel like a lot of the diseases we have today that we just can't figure out, or a lot of the things that are plaguing us, even in economic, not just science, not even limited to science, just in law, science, government, all sorts of different spectra. Like,
Yes.
I just think a lot of the problems we have today, if we were more integrated, if we had opportunities, like, wouldn't be non-existent. So yeah, it is very utopic, but I like the way you're thinking. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
And
that's why we're here.
That's why we're here, and step by step and day by day, hopefully, our dreams could come true. So.
All right, so I have a question, and it's very like, I don't know if you guys have an answer for this.
Okay.
So what's the first thing you guys plan on doing with your degree? Like, how would you change the community?
Boy, that's a really hard question.
Well, you're closer. She's a lot closer than me, so that's for you.
Okay, I'll take that one. I'll take this one. What is the closest thing or the first thing that I want to do for my community? I was actually thinking about this today, so I got really lucky. During my last year, I realized how much I wanted to use science to cause social impact, but I was never trained in how to do it. And not many people do it because there's not an economic reward behind it. People, there is not such a thing as, there's not a job for a scientist to do social impact in an educational way. It's really hard. Probably it does exist, but it's really hard. And so I started this group with other medical school students and other students in STEM, and we are trying to use active learning teaching of molecular biology and medicine and specific diseases to actually cause social impact. And so we have an initiative that hopefully we can get going on next year. But I have a few projects involving usually viruses. I think that is something I'm really passionate about because it involves science, but it also affects communities. And so if I can integrate science with that, it would be amazing. And one of these ideas is to do a qualitative and quantitative study about the impact of HIV in minority communities, because these patients are being stigmatized when they come to the hospital, right? The people, the medical staff who's not well trained will treat them very differently. They will be discriminated against. And there's certain services that they will not receive just because why would we help that person if they're gonna die anyway, right? And so trying to do a study or a quantification of how that happens and how we can change it would be something that I'm extremely interested on doing, but also starting these really small educational projects where we can go and educate high school students and other undergrads in the sciences and medicine to look at disease not only from one perspective. So I cannot look at disease only as a scientist and only look at the molecular biology. And a doctor cannot look at a disease only from a way of diagnosing it and treat it. But if we look at it globally and we look at the impact of that disease economically, socially, medically, and the science behind it, and we actually apply it to the very specific community and a very specific disease, then maybe we could actually cause change of some sort. So that's the plan. See if it becomes reality. I'm demanding it, the universe to help me.
I'm gonna work for Caroline, actually. Whenever she do,
You're gonna work with me.
I'm gonna work for you. But I'm not exactly sure what I would do. That's a great question. I should think about it more. But for me, my passion has always been to target like black males, young black males that were from a similar environment as me, and just provide some positive reinforcement. They don't have to get into science. I just want to be a positive role model somehow in my community, wherever that may be. I don't know where I'll be in the next few years, but I know wherever I'm at, I'm gonna make sure to be involved because that's my duty. Like, in my opinion, people may not see that it's to each his own, but I feel like I've been blessed with opportunities, so it'll be wrong of me not to give back somehow. So I don't know what that looks like, so I'm gonna apply to her firm or her nonprofit, and see where that goes. But yeah.
But we do that in a daily basis. You know, it's something that is just a mission for us to just carry wherever we go, and that's why we're here, right?
So what advice or things you would want someone who wants to follow a medical or like a science career? So what devices would you have?
They are in what stage of life? High school? What grade?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, high school.
Let's be a little more specific here, because it's different, right? Do you think more in the upper high school, lower?
Yeah, upper high school.
Upper high school. Okay. So, a lot of people do community service just because they have to. And they just fill up things with hours just because they have to do it. But in order to use that time in a better way to show what you like and who you are, I would encourage you guys to actually come up with an activity that you can do on your own. Something to create, let's say, scientific small experiments to take to young children so that you can motivate really young kids to get into science, or create a club that talks about diseases, and then you invite people in your community to teach them and training about stuff like that. And so instead of just following, I think the advice I want to give is, instead of following and doing things just because, do things that you're passionate about, things that show who you are and who you want to be, because then you'll have a really good story for your personal statement, right? Number one. And you will be helping your community. You will be developing leadership skills and things that you can now then later on use and apply in whatever other circumstances you would be. So I'll definitely encourage to become leaders and to impact your community wherever you are.
Yeah, take that extra step, do extra. Don't be like, do what in your heart, what you feel that you want to do, and do it 100%. Not 100%.
150, I would have to say.
I don't like when people say that because there's no such thing. It's either 100% or it's not. You do it. So, wait, what's your name?
Ishak.
Nishak?
Ishak.
Ishak. So I want them to say, Ishak, this is what he does. You got to set yourself apart. And the earlier you do it, the better. Like, it took me a while to learn this, but you're already doing it now. So it's like, I guess I'll preach it to the choir, as they say. But just whatever you find, whatever you're passionate, just do it with reckless abandonment. Like, you have all the resources now, all the opportunities. You don't have to pay any bills, to my knowledge. I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe. But
if you don't.
Yeah, just pursue that, and it doesn't have to be something big, just start, nothing is built overnight. You just little by little, just have your passion, follow it, and then just take those necessary steps to be better at science, whatever type of science you like. You might like plants, you might like fish, you might like whatever you like, whoever. Don't let anybody say, don't, just follow it. You never know where it's going to lead you. So it might seem small or trivial, but just follow that with everything you got, but keep your grades up.
That is actually, I have to follow up on that, because that is one of the best advice my dad ever gave me, and it's something that I apply in a daily basis. And he taught me that if I am going to do something, I'm going to do it right. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do it to the best ability I can, because whatever it is that I'm doing shows who I am and the type of person I am. And
right.
So always give your best.
So true.
In whatever you do, because that sets the tone for who you are. So.
Okay, do you guys consider yourself successful? And if not, what makes someone successful?
We're at Harvard, so we are successful.
I mean,
That's a success. Like,
Yeah.
how many, like, there's very few Colombians getting PhDs at Harvard. There's very few of us. How many of us are actually female scientists? So I think that in itself is a huge success. Just being able to make it here and represent and do good. And so I think that success is something that is very hard to define.
Right.
And every person has a different definition of success. So what is probably successful to me may not be successful to you, and it's definitely not the same as it is for my mother. Her definition of success is very different than mine, right? And so I think that success is whatever, when you reach the point that you feel that you're successful is a point where you are happy with what you do and who you are. And I'm really happy where I am and the person that I've become in the last few years. So I guess,
That's a beautiful answer. I just feel like you're successful when you, not if you get into school or whatever. Like, well, just I felt like I was a success when I made it out of high school, which is it. I mean, like people have I just feel like I was a success then. But when you do when you follow your heart, even if you fail. And I feel like once you follow something that you really wanted to do, you took the necessary precautions. Even if you failed, in my opinion, you're a success because at the end of the day, you did what you wanted to do and you live with the results. That I already know you guys are rational human beings, logical. You're here, you're very intelligent. So whatever decision you make, I'm confident that it's gonna be the right one, with the right guidance. But that's always been my opinion because I didn't go directly into science. Just a small background. I was doing sociology, and I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do with that, But I just know I wanted to help people somehow. So I switched my entire direction to science. So I started taking classes in science, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna apply to UC Berkeley. What? UC Berkeley? What are you doing? That's like, I guess, the Harvard equivalent in the Bay Area. It's like, people, what are you doing? I didn't even get accepted, but I wrote an appeal letter that got in. So after that, I did okay there. It's just, I decided I wanted to really pursue science, and people said, what are you doing? You have no background, this is that. And I did terrible in my classes at first, but for me, what made me success, even when I was not doing well, is that I was pursuing something that I really wanted to do. So that's my definition of success. Not being influenced by positive influence, but not letting people dictate what you want to do, but doing what you want to do and doing it to the best of your ability. So yeah, I think I've been successful so far, but
and
we'll see.
Continue to be.
Yeah, we'll continue to be. Yeah, exactly.
So you said part of the story of being successful is being happy and being confident in who you are. So how would you say, who are you? Like, what is your definition?
Boy, these questions are really hard. Who am I? This is philosophical. This is going back to basics. Okay. So, I'm a natural born, raised Colombian girl that dreamed of becoming a scientist and who's worked really hard to make it where she's at. I am someone who has a big heart and is willing to do whatever it takes to actually cause impact in humanity and do something positive, even for a few people. Yeah, I'm very humble. I try to remain humble. I try to remember where I come from, but at the same time, always strive for more. And yeah, that's it. This is really intimidating. Who are you, Joe?
No, she asked you, not me.
Okay, fine. Yes. That's who I am.
It was wait, who are you?
Yes.
Wait, can you repeat the question?
She defines specifically success as you're happy and you're confident in yourself and of who you are. And so I asked her, who are you?
Oh.
I mean, it'd be lovely if you answer it too.
Okay. Oh, who am I? I'm the type of person who. Wow, that's a good question.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Everything's gonna be edited anyway,
Yeah,
right?
I just gonna answer the question. I know I've hurdled a lot of obstacles, and I'm confident that I'm gonna be better. I always try to tell myself that I'm better than I really am. I just have to psych myself out. I always try to say I'm smarter than I really. I don't want to say it like that, but just for me, so I can achieve the best I could be and not be complacent. So to ask, who am I? I guess I am a overachiever, underachiever,
Over.
overachiever. Yeah, that's what I am. It's a tough question. Dang.
Next.
Being minorities, do you feel like you're obligated to be successful or try harder or?
Whew. That is a topic of a conversation I've had with many other minority scientists and actually with other female scientists. Because, and I've gotten different answers depending on the people that I've asked, but I have received answers from female faculty who actually feel that they have to perform better than their male counterparts for them to actually be recognized. I felt like that at some point in the beginning of grad school. I felt that I needed to prove myself. But then I realized that that is not the way to go, that I am as best as I can be in whatever I do. But I can see it happening to others around me. I have other black male faculty who feel that they don't get as much recognition as their white counterparts. So this is not to say that it happened at all times and that it always happens, but it is a perception out there that we need to change with our attitudes and the way we actually depict ourselves, right, and the way we work. And so you have to be proud of what you do. So that is, we're going back to the same point. When you do your best and you know this is what you have, then you don't need to prove anything else to anybody because that is the best that you can do. So I think it's all a mindset, but it does happen in academics, at least, that I know of.
Yes, she answered it perfectly. You're obligated to yourself to be the best you can be to achieve your dreams and aspirations. Now, with that said, this is reality. This is the real world. You're always being evaluated. Wherever you go, somebody's evaluating you unfairly, maybe unfairly judging you. So everybody's gonna have their own opinion about you. About, are you supposed to be here? Things like that. So what you have to do is realize that, you're obligated to you. You're obligated, you're obligated to your family, whoever you find motivation from, that's who you're obligated to. It's not necessarily about what people think, because their opinions are always going to change. It's about what you think about yourself. So, for me personally, I feel like I'm obligated to my mother and my family, and just the hard work that people before me had to put in for me to even have this opportunity. I feel an obligation to them.
So if money or time wasn't an issue, what is the first thing you try to have science solve?
Money and time was not an issue at all.
Yeah, sure.
In science general.
Mm-hmm.
There's many things, actually. I don't think I could start with one. But there are many tropical diseases that can be cured if you have the money and the time to actually do it, right? So tropical diseases that affect people of low income because they don't have the right settings, or because they don't have potable water or the correct draining systems. So that's what I would do. I would definitely start working in populations like that.
Yeah, just one word, education. I feel like we owe a lot of problems, a lot of issues can be avoided if people are properly educated about the advantages, the pitfalls of certain decisions, of certain lifestyles, just access to knowledge. I look back at me growing up. I'm like, dang, I wish I would have knew that. Like what some I wish I had access to this. And it's just knowledge. Just education, just these simple. Just simple things. So yeah, I wish if money and time were not an issue, I wish people could all have an adequate education about lifestyle choices and just simple things, because a lot of these diseases Caroline was saying could be eradicated, wouldn't be an issue if just people had the right education, the right base of knowledge. So yeah, just something simple like that.
I actually have another question.
Okay.
What did you guys do to regain your motivation if you ever lost it? Like whenever you felt down or lost hope, like what did you do to pick it back up?
I had no plan B. It was either struggling. I was looking at it this way. I had several jobs. I used to work at In-N-Out Burger. You guys know In-N-Out Burger? In-N-Out Burger. I hated it. FedEx. I hated it. Car wash. Hated it. Roofing. Movie. Hated it. I was like, okay, I could either struggle working these jobs or struggle at school. And I felt like the pain and suffering for writing a paper, doing an experiment, was far less than working at a menial job that's not going to go anywhere. So my motivation was just pretty simple. Like I'm just a simple kind of guy. Like I just felt like if I stayed the course, I would reap the rewards. It's like you sow a seed and it's gonna grow. But I felt like if I decided to drop, if I lost my motivation to the point where I didn't want to do, I didn't know what else I was gonna do. So for me, I just really didn't have a good plan B.
I've fallen many times. I've had really hard times. And I've picked myself up, put my pieces together, and learn. So every time something happens in your life, you have to look back and say, why did that happen to me? And why did I learn from it? And you take the best, you forget about everything else, you get up and you keep on moving. So that's my strategy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.